Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 1633. 1633. I'm your host, Mike Matthews. Broadcasting from Cafe Anyway, located somewhere in Castro Valley, Mont. The last place on Earth. Today, Madame Rootabega, Valentino, Bison Bentley. And I have 464 people subscribing to my email.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's the Mike's Daily Podcast email. That's a fancy name we gave for it. So you can check that out.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
How to sign up for that. It's at the top of MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com, a wonderful website where you can find stuff out about all the things that want to make you shout and sing. And you can do this if you want to be a person that you live inside a little box. And your name is Vox. Vox is like a Latin word for voice.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Vox Humana. That was an album by Kenny Loggins that had a song,
Mike's
Forever
Daily
in my
Podcast.
heart.
Yeah!
Forever you will be. And even when I'm gone, you'll be here with me. Forever. Always you will be. I'll be yours. The biggest, cheesiest, most beautiful Kenny Loggins ballad. Forget about it, even though we ain't got money. I'm so in love with you, honey. Everything will bring a change. Love. And this is why I don't sing, because I end up vomiting. Look who walked in. Hello, Mega Master, it's Madame Rootabega, and I like Glenn Beck. Huh? Look who else walked in.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that? What are you guys laughing about?
We're not laughing about anything. She likes Glenn Beck.
Yeah! Glenn Beck. Do you know that? Glenn Beck. It's so funny. I could completely forgotten about Glenn Beck. But I guess recently, one of my favorite podcasts called On the Media did a thing about him. And so I got...
And here's today's podcast picture.
I got vitality points. I was worried that I didn't because, well, the podcast picture is of some beautiful wildflowers at Heron Bay in San Leandro, San Lorenzo, that general area in the East Bay. See it at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Now, NYC. WNYC, by the way, it will always hold a very special place in my little ticker, because the one time I went to New York, I got to stay with hotel points that I had made off of my American Express card. When I moved to Alabama, I charged a whole mess of stuff to the card and got points because it was the first points card I ever got where you get, reward points back. Only the way you got them back then was just with the hotel through SPG, Starwood Preferred Group. And this hotel in Soho took those points. So we got to stay in New York completely free. It was wonderful, except for the flying in and out stuff and the paying the crazy prices for eating out and all that. But it was just a fantastic trip, and finally got to see New York, and it was wonderful. And my lovely lady friend, DT, is from New York, so when she talks about it, and I didn't know, she was there 9/11, so she has some fascinating stories. Maybe we'll have her on the show sometime. How about that? She's listening right now going, what? No! Huh? I am not going to be on your show. No, she'll be on someday. She's not like that. I'm sure she'll someday. But yeah, she was there that day and has a fascinating story where she and a Jamaican woman were basically helping each other out, like hiding and staying away from the buildings that were just on fire, crashing down, and their Jamaican friend kept saying, "Oh God, oh God, oh God," and she can tell the story 20 times better. But it was fascinating. I didn't know this about my lady friend, but yeah. So DT will have to tell that tale. That's not a tale; it's a true story. Sadly, I mean, it was a horrible, horrible experience. So she will at some point be on the show. But the experience I had in New York was very positive. I had a good 4 days in a very hot August visit is what it was, and right across the street from the hotel I stayed at was WNYC. So I had no idea. One of my favorite shows that I've heard on NPR stations, public radio stations, but public broadcasting stations, is the show on the media. It's also a fantastic podcast, and they had Glenn Beck on the last one.
Wildly dangerous with the corruption just in the FBI and the justice, that the media never listened. They every day does it all live, all unscripted. And
he's talking about himself, Glenn Beck. Well, that's his favorite topic, is himself.
This show is about me, and it always has been.
And yes, I've been talking about myself this podcast so far. But I would like to talk about Kevin real quick. Kevin, addendum with Kevin. Kevin said that he felt really hey, you were really sick when you did that podcast last week. You could have had me guest host. So there's someone that would gladly step up to the plate if Mike gets sick. So way to go, Kevin. All right. Back to Glenn Beck, though. He was having this conversation with Bob Garfield, who hosts on the media. And Glenn Beck is all about trying to reinvent himself. And he wants to get away from the alt-right. He wants to get away from, how did Bob Garfield call it? The crazy wing nutters? The conspiracy theorists that follow Alex Jones. And I had a friend that I didn't know she followed Alex Jones. And I was talking with her one day, and she brought it up, and I was, what the hell? You got
to be kidding me.
And my voice turned into somebody else's.
But what good does it do now? Destroying Glenn Beck. Bob, people have been doing that for a long time. You're a little late to the party. What can we do to heal the nation instead of dividing?
That's what Glenn Beck is all about now, is listening. And I feel that this is the evolution of all crazy wingnut conservative and extremist liberal people as well, is you eventually have to make your way back to, hey, we're all human beings. We all got to coexist on this planet. Coexist. Greatest bumper sticker ever with all the symbols of the different religions. And we've got to get together. Come on, one another, let's get together, go to something right now, Youngbloods. And then old song but pertinent today. And so that's the evolution, and Glenn Beck has made it there. Now he's mad at the media because he doesn't like, right now he's mad because of Trump saying, well, he was not for Trump, but now he says he's for Trump for 2020 because the media went after Trump when he called. It looked like Trump was saying immigrants they're coming to the country are animals, but what he meant was that horrible killing gang. Where are they? Are they in New York? I forget now. Whatever 5. I forget. So that's what Glenn Beck was. How dare the media say that about Glenn Beck? Donald Trump. They're wrong. I'm going to be for Trump. At any rate, that's enough about it. The best part of this interview, though, with Bob Garfield is when Glenn Beck is incensed and he's leaving the interview.
Find a moment where you give somebody the opportunity to actually change and try to do the right thing and stand not against the people where the crowds are cheering, but stand against the people where no one is cheering, where no one wants to stand,
where no one is standing. And that was his way to tell Bob Garfield to to leave. My lady friend also told me a very fascinating thing. Oh, she brought up an interesting point. So I was talking about how in the Instagram world and the Facebook world that cute young women rule. It's like they post pictures of themselves, selfies with themselves, and they get a gazillion. Everybody's liking, commenting, posting, oh, you're so beautiful, and da-da-da-da-da. But she brought up, well, they don't rule the world, Mike. The young women don't rule the world. Women are being, because white males rule the world, and that's true. That's true. And little by little, women are chipping away. The stock market this week, was it the Dow or the NASDAQ? Well, actually, I think both now are being run by women for the first time. The possibility of a female governor of Georgia is becoming very real. It's going to happen. And they're just, little by little, they're chipping away. Little by little, the racism in the world is being chipped away. But we can't go backwards, and that's true. To say that that a particular group has won in the Instagram world means really nothing. Because in the end, Instagram is just an app that will be replaced at some point. MySpace was replaced. Someday Facebook will. Even though it seems like a behemoth now, it will happen as people get more and more incensed with this guy.
You know, we have a basic responsibility to protect people's data. And if we can't do that, then we don't deserve to have the opportunity to serve people.
Trump said goodbye to Kim Jong-un over the meeting that was going to take place June 12th in Singapore. Did not like the way one of the North Korea leaders, one of the people called Pence a dummy. Vice President Mike Pence a dummy. And that was apparently over Mike Pence talking about how the whole North Korea de-escalating, denuclearizing is going to be similar to how Libya happened. Libya was denuclearized. But the bad thing about that, why that is such an insult to North Korea, is because Gaddafi, in the end, was killed by his own people. And they're like, well, Kim Jong-un's like, I don't want to be killed by my own people, even though I've killed a bunch of my own people. So that's kind of this weird thing, this back and forth. And Trump had a letter. I heard the letter. It sounded like, not like, we hate you, fire and fury, like he's said in the past.
They will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
In the letter, though, he did mention, hey, we got way more nukes than you, and I pray to God we'd never have to use them, but we would if you were gonna mess with us. And though it was all about, I look forward to talking to you again. If you ever want to call me, call. It was a total, phone hand gesture, making it look like a phone, putting it up to your ear and going, call me. Give me a call sometime. Kim Jong-un. So it was totally leaving it open-ended, which I appreciated. But at the same time, North Korea, well, not at the same time. In conjunction with this, apparently, North Korea is willing to talk to U.S. at any time. This, according to Voice of America. North Korea said yes today, actually, that it was still willing to sit for talks with the United States at any time in any format after Donald Trump called it off. So we'll see how that goes. It made the stock market flip. Everybody was like, what the? But in the end, let's see. There's room for optimism here. Harvey Weinstein has turned himself in on all those sex crime charges. He was arrested this morning on rape charges and is expected to be in a Manhattan court later today. Well, here we go. Okay, wow, that's so weird. This is the other thing DT, my lovely lady friend, was talking to me about. She watched that documentary on Rachel Dolezal, the American civil rights activist and former Africana studies instructor who was the president of the NAACP chapter in Spokane, Washington, from 2014 till 2015 when she resigned after it came out that she had lied about her racial identity. She is, in fact, a white woman raised in like an Amish family to two white parents, but she identified as black. And so there's a documentary about this, about, what exactly is race and how she has just upset people. African-American people are saying, hey, you are not white. Stop it. You're insulting us. And she has a very fascinating story. So I was hearing all about that yesterday on the walk that DT and I were on with the wonderful Basil the boxer. Now, apparently this story just came out today that Rachel is facing a felony theft charge in Washington State after she allegedly made false statements to secure nearly $9,000 in food and child care assistance. She has a son by was it second marriage? I forget the whole situation, but she does have an adopted. She has adopted kids that are actually her siblings. They were adopted by her parents first, and she adopted them because there was sexual abuse in her family from her brother. And so, it's a whole thing. It's on Netflix, apparently. But so apparently that's going on right now. She illegally received $8,747 in food assistance and $100 in child care assistance from August 2015 through November 2017. And she's changed her name. Does it say that? It doesn't say that what her new name is. But it is a more, let's say, it's a less white-sounding name than Rachel. It's Nick. Oh, how do you even say this name? I'm not familiar with these names that don't have vowels. Let's see. Oh, hey, it does have a vowel. Okay, let me give it a try. MIKEs-DAILY. There. I don't know how close that was. You can tell me. Give me a call, 336-MM-DAILY. 336-MM-DAILY. So she changed her name to that. So all that was what I learned yesterday on my walk. Now, I also realized that when I was talking on my podcast the other day that I'm at the halfway point. I thought I was more than halfway to my birthday. I am actually just at the halfway point. So Tuesday it was, I'm now 49 and a half on Tuesday. And so I am halfway to 50. Which will mean it will be the 10-year anniversary on my birthday of a very crappy birthday I had. Well, it was good and it was bad. I worked in Alabama at a radio station where I was the program director, but I was also the promotions director. I was the everything director. I did everything. And one of the things I had to do, I would voice track or pre-record my show, then get in a big truck that had George Strait, Faith Hill, Shania Twain, Kenny Chesney, Tim McGraw, all pasted on the side. Have to put on my cowboy hat, and I rode out, drove out to this high school because they were having their Friday Night Lights football game on a Friday night. And I had to go out there and give out T-shirts and walk around this. And I remember, I'm in boots, and I'm just tired as all hell. And I'm like, this is my birthday. This is my freaking birthday. And I have to do all this. This is crap. And then I have to rush over to my friend's house and my then wife at the time. They were throwing me a birthday party. And I think I got there like at 8. So I got there pretty late. And there were other people showing up. It ended up being a great party. I don't know how I got through the night, though. I was so tired. But there, just pure adrenaline. There was a cake. There was all my friends there. It was just a great time. People showed up later. There was a couple that just had a baby that showed up, and it was the greatest time. But it started out. It was a hard day, I have to say. I planted a tree on Wednesday. because I'm that kind of a tree hugger. Well, no, because I got the tree for free from the Arbor Day Society. They were doing a thing through PG&E, my power and gas and electricity provider, that if you plant a tree in front of your house and, observing all the power lines and gas lines and all that stuff, if you have that tree planted and it creates shade, it will keep your house cooler. Although I don't think you should throw shade on anyone. That's not a good thing. But at the same time, shade on your house, very good. And PG&E gives you an analysis of how much you're going to actually save. And so I planted this tree. It's going to pop out these beautiful flower balls. It's a plant with balls. And it's going to grow. It's going to take a while to grow. But I'm looking forward to that. Now, this story, as I'm wrapping up the show and as I go outside a cafe anyway where I bring you Mike's Daily Podcast, somewhere in Castro Valley, not a very good story. Kind of a sad story. Very sad story, in fact, that a Tesla crashed near Castro Valley. It apparently went off the road of Crow Canyon. Crow Canyon has some twists and turns. It's not that bad compared to a lot of mountain roads out there. But it's actually a very beautiful drive. But a Tesla Model S went off the side, and the man was killed. He drove off the road, through a fence, down an embankment, and into a pond. And then sunk into the pond, this Tesla. The owner of the property thought something was up when he sees his fence knocked down. I guess this happened at like 8 o'clock at night is when the report came in. And they didn't actually retrieve the body of the driver till about 5:30 in the morning. The CHP, the rescue people, they worked all night to extract the body. They didn't know at first if the electric car, was going to make the pond unsafe to go into. Because, right, electricity and water. So they had to thoroughly check that out to make sure it was safe. And so apparently 8 p.m. CHP responded. This was on Sunday evening. The property owner reported a broken fence and other debris, as well as tire tracks that led him to believe a car might have traveled down an embankment and gone into the pond. Sheriff Sergeant Ray Kelly said the recovery effort was complicated by the fact that Tesla is an electric car and that divers and staff did research before attempting to pull the car out of the pond. Quote, "We have never dealt with a submerged electric car before. After some research, we did what we needed to do to safely get it out. We didn't want one tragedy leading to another." He said that the CHP will be communicating with Tesla as the investigation continues to see if the car's autopilot feature could have contributed to the collision. It almost looks to me, just from the evidence, that it was a situation where the driver fell asleep, apparently. This is what it looks like to me, but the autopilot feature was engaged in an unrelated fatal Tesla crash in Mountain View. That was back in March. And what was the other? Let's see. So, yeah, that's what happened. And I didn't even know about this story until just Thursday. Yeah, yesterday. So, yeah, and it was too soon to know if drugs or alcohol was involved. But yeah, though that happened, and I don't know if that made the national news, but that's a big story. So be careful driving out there. And I see so many Teslas in the Bay Area. It's crazy. Everywhere you go, you see them. It's now to the point that people are driving used, beat-up Teslas, like old jalopy Teslas are on the roads. So something like this, I guess, was bound to happen. But into a pond, over the side, through the fence, down the hill. That's crazy. It must have been going pretty fast. Okay, and then the other story, as we wrap up the show finally, is that there is a place near me called Cafe Rumi. And my lady friend loves to go there and they have all kinds of delicious food and coffee drinks. My name is Sarah, says this letter to the local paper in Castro Valley. I'm the owner of Cafe Rumi. We've been here in Castro Valley for nearly 8 years, and we've had a massive problem with after-school middle kids causing havoc in our establishment. Fights have broken out. They've damaged personal property. They've verbally abused myself and my staff. I've lost employees because they didn't want to handle these kids anymore. I've been in constant communication with the school principals as well as the superintendent. Nothing much has happened. I'm afraid something bad will happen because these kids are in large groups unsupervised. On Monday, this is me talking, Mike Matthews, my lady friend DT and I went to Cafe Rumi and sat outside I was having their pink chai, and some kids came by after school, just a bunch of kids, and I'm like, okay, great. Now they're going to start screaming at each other and doing their stupid kids stuff. And they were actually pretty well behaved, but this is the situation. I bet, Sarah goes on. A lot of parents come pick their kids up here, and it is not allowed. Since we are private property, I have put up a sign that only 2 kids are allowed at a time inside the store, and that we cannot allow unsupervised kids to dine in without a parent. I've had parents come take pictures and become abusive towards our business. I wanted to see if something can be written about this. We pay taxes, and we want the best for our community. I believe the school district needs to do more to keep these kids safe and businesses safe and thriving. They need to appoint someone to be here at the center, this little strip mall she's in, to supervise the kids and tell parents they can't pick their kids up here. I've lost countless customers because they don't want to be around when these kids get let out. It's true. I've been there where they're screaming and they're just, ugh. So, I don't know what to say about this, except parents, try a little harder with your kids. Kids that listen to this podcast, don't be messing with my wonderful Cafe Rumi. Leave it alone and quit with the
Anarchy! I don't even know what that means, but I love it!
Hey, I might have a Super Secret Sunday show. I'm pretty sure I will. I might have a Memorial Day show. I'm pretty sure I will. We'll see how it goes. But have a great weekend, a great 3-day weekend. Next show, it'll be Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer. Thank you for listening, Madame Rootabega. Are you still in love with Glenn Beck? No. Okay, good.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!